feel like something's different. I had to adjust my setup a little bit. Don't fall. Hello, 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 and welcome to day 4. I have gone bonkers already. It's happened. It is fine. It's Sunday. I spent the entire day, well, I spent the entire morning planning for the mocks for my students, and then the afternoon. Was I doing the afternoon? I can't remember what I did in the afternoon. Wait, I was planning until 2. Then what did I do? I think I read a book. Yeah, I was reading. The days have become the same. But yeah, I was reading. But mocks start next week. And the kids are panicking. And I'm stressed. Because if everything goes the same as last year, their final grades will be dependent on these mocks. Which is unfair, but kind of expected. But yeah, lesson planning went well. We're going to be focusing on Shakespeare, Macbeth, and Romeo and Juliet. Like, I have a gripe against Romeo and Juliet. Like, a lot of people who know me when I teach it, they know I hate it. I hate when people say, oh, it's one of the romantic stories of, like, one of the most romantic stories, but it's a story of absolute stupidity, and it's actually a cautionary tale of what not to do. For some reason, people are like, yes, it's so sweet, it's so lovely, it's so wonderful. No, it's dumb. And when people say, oh, me and my partner are like Romeo and Juliet, oh, you're going to be 2 teenagers who kill themselves or who choose to get married after just 24 hours. Which one is it? Both of them are stupid. Sorry. Sorry. But yes, so we're doing Get Ready for Shakespeare. And, well, my school's kept Shakespeare, Jekyll and Hyde, and Inspector Calls. We dropped the poetry. Because expecting a bunch of 15, 16-year-olds to memorize 15 individual poems, including text and themes, is a little too much, especially in just a 9-month period before their assessments. So we dropped poetry. Some schools have not because they've already done the poetry. I have a friend who's in Korea and he's absolutely laughing at the elections in America right now. And he's convinced that now that Trump is no longer president, that people are just going to forget about him. And I'm like, no, they're not going to forget. And he's not going to stop tweeting. And he's really surprised that I'm saying that. So we've got a bit of a bet going. But yeah, it's just... Have to admit though, this has been probably one of the fastest Sundays I've ever had. I did not expect it to go by that quickly. I am not looking forward to school in the morning. Like, nothing wrong with the kids. The kids are lovely. I just don't want to do mornings. Who likes Monday mornings? And I tried to do the game again. I tried to live stream the game and set it up, but OBS hates me. Or it could just be that the fact that the game is super, super old, so it doesn't want to work. So I finally got it to work with the camera, but it didn't work with the game. And it's just like, no. Oh. Officer shoves bagpipe player to the ground as he tries to cross police line at the cenotaph. As Britons pay respects at nation's war memorials despite being advised to stay home on Remembrance Sunday. I get that people are there, but there's no need to shove a bagpipe player. Oh, this is horrendous. Oh God, why did I drink this? Oh gosh, I'm gonna finish this though because I'm not wasting it, but I see why my mom said it was this. I should have trusted her. Oh. Oh. Oh, that's horrendous. But yeah, I'm on a Daily Mail again. Wonderful little right-wing newspaper. Makes me laugh so much. Apparently Trump keeps just going golfing. Aren't the golf courses closed in America? Or is it depending on the state? That's grossed me out now. I've grossed myself out. There's something wrong with me. Oh, it's so cold. I hate it. Oh, yay! The numbers have gone down. But yeah, if anyone can tell me, a golf course is still open in America. A man visiting his friend for a cup of tea is fined by police for breaking COVID lockdown rules after he lied about why he was there. They tried to get between a Britishman and his tea, and then he was fined. Oh, wow. £200 fixed penalty. That for a cup of tea, that's a very expensive cup of tea. Sorry, there was something on the other side of the room that I wanted to get. Cravens. It's literally called Cravens. Cravens sponges? I think these are the knockoff Twinkies. Yeah, it's just a sponge with cream in the middle. The knockoff version of Twinkies, which I've only ever had in Dubai. I've never had them here. But yes, so he was fined for going to have tea with his friend. like £200 for a cup of tea. Like, it's a lot to risk for a cup of tea. It better have been the best cuppa ever. Oh, unless they're one of them weirdos that put the milk in first. Oh. Like, I met someone who used to do that. They would actually put the milk in first. I was like, what kind of monstrosity is this? Ooh. Wales is coming out of their lockdown. Because the numbers are plateauing in the Principality. So, see, that's the thing. Wales went into proper lockdown. They closed the schools. They closed everything other than supermarkets. So the only shops open were the places where you could buy food to live, and pharmacies. But they closed everything else. They were smart. We, for some reason, still have the schools open. So that's why I guess their one was only 2 weeks rather than 4 like us. Oh, and the mass COVID testing they're doing in cities. They can use the army to test did they test the entire Liverpool? They're gonna literally do COVID tests on the whole of Liverpool City. I thought Liverpool's got at least 1 million people. It's okay. It's not the best. It's okay. Anti-lockdown protests still going. I haven't frozen. I'm literally just reading. I've gotten to that age where I find it hard to multitask. I can't even walk and text. Every time I do, there are guaranteed to be mistakes. And then everyone's always like, what on earth are you saying? Okay. Are there still award shows going on? Apparently the MTV EMAs is happening. Wait, EMAs was the European musicals, wasn't it? Oh, it actually happened. It's not even going to happen. It's literally... Oh, it's a socially distanced ceremony. still going to be a ridiculous number of people, isn't there? Oh, it's a pre-recorded ceremony that's been filmed in different locations around the world. That'd be fun. Ryan Reynolds wants to buy Wrexham Football Club? Is it Wrexham or pronounced Wrexham? I can't remember. 5th tier football team. And they're going to do a documentary about them buying it. I don't know. Might be quite fun for the little club. Oh, I like this. The Swedes ignore their first ever lockdown as country sees record number of new COVID infections, with people continuing to cram onto buses and throw dinner parties. If you're gonna rebel with style. Dinner parties. I haven't been there, don't worry. It's not just being thrown into the corner. So, what do you think is going to happen in this upcoming week? Other than Trump throwing hissy fit, he's literally still tweeting that because technically the votes are still being counted, the lamestream media are the ones who have said that he's lost. He's not going to accept it. Oh, I like this. All right, that's actually not as bad as it started off to be. I can deal with it. Now that it's infused. So it's the Twinings cold fusion infused, where you literally put a tea bag into regular water. It's supposed to make a flavor. This is the watermelon strawberry mint. It has a terrible mint aftertaste, like toothpaste. But I don't know. I guess the companies are trying to appeal to other markets because not everyone likes hot tea. When I say other markets, everyone knows I'm talking about Americans. Not a bad thing. You guys like your iced tea. You literally make hot tea and then cool it down. So they thought they just make it so you don't have to do that. You can skip a whole step. But yeah, Jill Biden didn't know she was a teacher until recently. And that she carried on teaching even when he was the vice president. And she's going to keep teaching now that he is president. I like that. Like that. She'll be the first lady with a job. I like it. I like the fact she's staying. Full-time English professor. I like it. Makes us teachers feel, united. Or makes me feel united anyway. Kinship. Yeah. But yeah, apparently Oh gosh, people are trying to get Trump's kids to run. The only one who has working brain cells, I think, is Ivanka. The other two are worse than their dad. But yeah, there's so much. Ooh, what's this? Oh, the Japanese emperor's younger brother is sworn in as first in line to the chrysanthemum throne. Oh right, because he's got a daughter, and they're still sexist over there. I wonder why they don't just change it and allow the daughters to inherit. Like, considering they're there as just like our royal family, just for show, basically. Then they're not really. Doesn't really matter, does it? It's like when people ask us why do we have a queen. I don't know why we have a queen, but she's a lovely old lady. I met her when I was 7. She's really nice to me, like a nice grandma. Not so much Philip. He kind of just walked right past me. He's a bad grandpa. Wow, the news is just so depressing. Like, I remember they used to do occasional feel-good stories to just try to trick us into things being not so bad. Two British students stranded in Dubai for almost 3 months after dispute over damaged luxury rental car are finally told they can return home. They were banned from leaving the UAE when they were they had to wait for court over allegations of assault. See, whenever they do the titles, they make it seem like that they did nothing wrong, and that they're like, oh no, they've got the British students and the poor victims, but there was allegations of assault, so that makes sense. They weren't stranded; they had to wait there for trial to find out whether they were guilty or not. It's the same way you would do it here. You've accused of something, you have to wait. They don't want you leaving the country to escape in case you were guilty, so they tell you to stay. You're not stranded. You're there. People know you're there. You're not lost. And they were given a £200 fine and told, and told to go home. Yeah. But yeah, the way they always do it is they try to word it to make it seem like they're being held unreasonably when it's possible. What is this? Beverly Hills of Britain is blasted for ageism after council rejects plans for £100 million retirement village because influx of elderly people would destroy town's vitality. What on earth is that nonsense? So they wanted to build a retirement village. Would have cost £100 million, but they rejected it because they said the old people would bring down the vibe of the town. Oh my gosh. But why is it called the Beverly Hills of Britain? I don't. So Elmbridge Borough Council. Where is that? Walton on Thames. Okay, I see why they call it. It's just a super upper middle class area with luxury homes and expensive schools. Okay, that makes sense. But still, they're like, we don't want the old people here. They're not thinking about all the business and the money that will come in. But then it's an upper middle class area. They don't really care about that. They already have the rich people living there. But I love how they're just like, no, don't want it. Don't want it. Right, let me actually see what's on world news because I haven't been on that in a while and I have no idea what's going on in the world. Other than COVID cases increasing in many countries. Wow. So Germany and Italy are having it bad. Oh, why did I go? Why have I gone into this? This is all horrible news. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. I'm not going to say any of this out loud because I don't want to get demonetized and I don't want to traumatize other people. I've had to read this myself. Okay, why did I come to? This is just a bit of a what the fudge kind of thing. But no, again, I'm not reading this out loud because no, it's oh my gosh, this is just ridiculous. It's just. Mm. Okay, yeah, I regret going to the world news. It's a terrible, dark, and horrible place. I don't like it not one bit. Not one bit. But yeah. I'm finding lockdown not too bad. But that's because I'm not a, like I said yesterday, I'm a house mouse. I like being inside. Outside is a terrible place full of people and questions. Yeah. I've realized as I got older that I really, really dislike questions. I don't know what it is, but when people ask me a lot of questions, like say, not when I'm teaching, if I'm teaching something and you don't understand it, I'll answer the question. But when it's other questions, people just asking me random stuff, what are you doing? Where are you going? Why are you doing that? What's this? Who's that? Where is this? Just any kind of questions, I get vexed. And then if I haven't seen people for a while and I go outside and they obviously have questions. What have you been doing? Like, what's going on? I get annoyed. And then the worst one is when I'm run into the aunties in town. And then they're like, oh, how are you? I'm good. How's the family? Yeah, we're good. Then, bear in mind, they've already asked me, how's the family? We are good. I have said this. We're good. We're good. Alhamdulillah, everything's fine. Then they will go into individuals. How's mom? How's dad? How's brother one? How's brother two? How's brother three? How's auntie? How's cousin? How's nieces, nephews, friends, brother? like just individual after that. And you're like, I've just said everyone's fine, and I literally meant everybody is fine. Like, if there was anybody else, I would have went, everyone's good except so and so is whatever. I would have said that. No. And then I've noticed this is not, it's not one, it's all of them. They all do this. So after you're done being like interrogated for each individual member of your entire family tree, and you move on, you'll get stopped about 100 meters down the road, another auntie. And because my parents don't go out now, so no one sees them. And they're like, oh, how's mum? How's dad? How's brother? How's other brother? How's this? How's that? How are you? Where are you going? What are you doing? It's like, why are you asking so many questions? So then by the time I finish being in town, I just don't want to be there anymore. Like, I just want to go home. And most of the time I'll forget what I even went out for. And I'll just come home and I'll be annoyed. And then I'll sit down and I'll be like, fudge, I went out for that. But it's like, they will never understand when they ask me, how's the family? I literally mean the entire family. You don't need to individually ask me how everybody is. It's like, how do I don't know. Is it just me? Do other people also do this? Is it? But yeah, it's just, I don't know. They like to ask a lot of questions, and then recently, because they've opened things up again, and when I've been out, there's been a lot more people. It's not just the aunties, the uncles. The uncles have now noticed that I'm out and about, and they're all like, "Oh, where's your dad?" At home. But why? Because there's a pandemic. Oh, he should come out. It's fine. We're all good. It's healthy. No, he's gonna stay at home. He doesn't want to leave the house. We don't want him to leave the house. It's fine if he stays at home. And they're like, no, 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 tell him to come down. My dad actually went out last week for the first time. He went into town for the first time since early March because he's been shielding. And then he said one of his friends come up to him and they were about to hug him, and he used his walking stick, stuck it out, and he went, 2 meters. We were dying with laughter. And he's like, oh no, it's fine, we can do this, we can hug. And it's like, no, 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 no. Because I did not avoid people and not leave my house for 9 months for you to come and try give me a virus my first day back. That's not happening. And then he's like, where's your mask? Where are you? You're not wearing gloves. Where's your sanitizer? Why are you so close to me? Stand back. He's like, oh, it's okay. And like, he's really trying to convince my dad that everything's fine. My dad's just not having it. And because I'm also part of the support bubble for my auntie, like she's I'm not going to say she's just retired age. I'm not going to give her age away because, you know, some people don't like to speak about it. But she'll call me up and she'll like, are you out and about? I'm like, yeah. Or I'll call her when I'm about to leave and I'm saying, I'm going to town. Do you want anything or do you need anything? And she'll give me a list of things to do. And then like I'll buy it and she'll just pay me back, or I'll just be like, if it's less than £10, there's no point really. Because it's my aunt, really. Why am I going to take money off her? But yeah, so then I'll do that for her. And then the other day when we were going shopping, she was like, oh, can I come with you guys? She goes, you guys do your shopping, I'll do mine, and that'll be fine. I was like, yeah, cool. So I picked her up, me and my mom, we picked her up, we're in the car, all of us had our masks on, went into the shop, she went her way, we went our way, had our trolleys, bought our stuff. And then like she finished before us because she's only buying for herself. So she's waiting for us at the front. We get into the car. We went to another little place or stopped to the car. Me and mom stayed in the car and she went in. And then she came back out and she's like, I was the only person in, like, it was a Somali shop with like a little like restaurant place, food place. Like they sell dried goods and then they have like a few cooked items. And she bought like a few things from there. And then she sat in the car and she's like, I was the only person in the entire shop wearing a mask. She goes, nobody else was. And then, so mom's like, what do you want to do? And she goes, Hannah's got sanitizer. Tell her to get. So I just gave her my sanitizer and she's sitting there. And she's going, it's crazy. She's going, how are they not being serious? I think it's different for like people who are over the age of 60. They're a bit more concerned, and like especially people who've got prior illnesses, they're a bit more concerned. It's just weird that people are not taking it seriously. But yeah, my aunt cracked me up. But then she got me the deadest sambusas from that shop. I was so annoyed. Like I was looking forward to sambusas. I haven't had any since Ramadan. And then I was like, yeah, like they're already ready made. It'll be nice. I picked them up. She gave them to me. Like, and then although they were like £1 each now, so expensive. I just didn't. I'm such a cheapskate. But yeah, so she bought me some whistles, all halves. I was all excited. I put it into the air fryer to like reheat it, and then a bit into it, and it was just nasty. It's like I don't know. They used to make it's really nice, like slightly salty, nice, a little greasy, but like not too greasy sambusas, and like not spicy, just the right nice amount of spice. It's like just a little bit of spice, not too much. And it's just disappointing. I was just disappointed. And they kind of ruined the whole day. And then she called me up after and she goes, "Oh, how was it?" And I was like, I've had better. I've had better. And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Hubba. I wish I'd given you nice ones." I was like, "It's not your fault. It's not like you made them." She goes, "I'll make you some." I was like, "No, it's fine. Like, you were at the shop, so I thought pick it up. It's nothing that I actually need. I just wanted it because we were there already." But yeah, like it's bad when you eat bad sambusas. It puts you off for ages. You just don't want it again. And then my mum told her, and she picked up some halwa for my mum, and my mum was just like, "No, no, I don't like it." So now it's just sitting downstairs. We're trying to get my brothers to eat it so it doesn't go to waste. But yeah, like it's bad when you have bad Somali food. And the thing my brother likes to joke about is the worst Somali food we've ever had was in Somalia. Like here in London, when we go to the Somali restaurants, some are absolutely delicious, and my mum's cooking is the best. Like I don't think anyone can compare to it. And then like some of the Somali restaurants are kind of greasy or that I have a really greasy or really dry. But when we went Hargeisa, everything was bad. It was just horrible. Like it was terrible. The best food that we had out there was pizza. This was years ago when Kaf first opened their restaurant. They had this pizza place they opened up, but it was run by these Yemeni guys, and it was really nice pizza, really nice chips. It was really tasty. But like the best food they had was the pizza and chips that we had there. God, we went to so many different restaurants and we're like, yeah, give us paris, give us pasta, like give us the marak, let's try everything, like suqar. When you ask them for suqar, they give you tuqad. It's like weird. Instead of like suqar is like inch thick, cubed, diced meat, cooked in sauces, vegetables and stuff. Done right, delicious, best thing you'll ever have. Done wrong, it's just dry and inedible. But they don't actually give you the right sized meat. They'll give you minced meat, and then they'll just like cook the minced meat in a bit of oil. Maybe if you're lucky, they'll add some seasoning, and then they'll bring that to you and say here, and you're like, "What is this?" So we had to call it Ross. So when we order, we'd say, "Give us Ross," and they'll give us the actual suqar. It's weird. Like it's weird that they're not that we had to change the Somali that we speak for them to understand when we were doing the right Somali, because then everyone else is like, yeah, it should be suqar, but they call it something else. I don't know, it's just crazy. And confuse the hell out of us. Like everyone here would know if I said suqar, they would all know what it is. But over there, if you say suqar, they don't know what it is, and it's crazy. It's like, how is it that the diaspora Somalis know it, but the native Somalis don't? And it made me think that we were taught the wrong Somali. For a fact, I know I was. Like a lot of the words I use aren't even actually Somali. I didn't realize until I was about 25 that most of the words I use are actually Arabic. Like I didn't know the Somali word for fork was forgeto. I never heard that word before until I was 25. And I was like, what is a for what? A for who? I forgot. People were like, how do you know Somali? I used to be an interpreter, and they're like, how did you not know how did you not know that word as an interpreter? I'm like, when I'm interpreting, it's normally for parents in schools or appointments, like at doctors or lawyers. There is never any need for us to say fork. Like, it's never come up. So we've never had that miscommunication. And then they were like, oh yeah, that's got a point. Because when are you ever going to need to say fork in school? Like, oh yes, yeah, so Miss Ahmed, your son, he came to school and he had a fork and we didn't know what to do, so we gave you a call, and then you're like, okay. Which actually reminds me of a time a girl got stabbed with a fork at my school. This is when I was in school. I think I was like year 10 or year 11. And then all we heard was the fire alarm go off. I'd already had my, because the older students get to eat lunch first, and then the younger ones go in after. But it's still an hour's lunch, so we were like outside just chilling on the benches. And then the fire alarm went off, and we're like, ah, crap. So we had to go out and like queue up outside. And then we're thinking, is it an actual fire or is it just a drill? Because they never do drills during lunch, so probably we're like, oh, something actually happened. But no, they wanted everyone to get out of the school so the ambulance could come in. And then I was like, what happened? Because I was one of the prefects on duty that day. And then one of my other friends who was on duty, she was like, oh, there was a fight in the cafeteria, in the dining hall. And I was like, oh, what happened? And she goes, a girl stabbed another one with a fork. I was like, what? Not even the knife. She stabbed her with the fork. And then from that day on, they wouldn't let us have metal utensils. We had to use plastic cutlery. And I was laughing my head off because I went to all girls school. My brothers went to an all boys school. And I told my brothers, and they were like, no one in their school has ever stabbed anybody with anything. And they get to use their metal utensils. And they were like, it's crazy that there was a stabbing with a fork at a girls' school. I was like, yeah, girls can be just as brutal as boys. They were just shocked by it. I was just annoyed that we had to use the stupid disposable plastic forks, and it's just like, you can't eat with them. They're terrible. And there was another time this girl, she got mad at a teacher. So we had 3 buildings at the time. One was the music building, one was the maths building, one was the main building with all the other subjects in it. And the main building was massive. The other 2 buildings were quite small, and they only had like, I think one had 6 classrooms, one had 8 classrooms. Yeah. So they weren't even that big. And then she was mad at one of the language teachers. So the music was upstairs in the building, and languages on the ground floor. And she was mad at the language teacher. I can't remember what it was the language teacher had done to her or said to her, because I was like, yeah, 7 or year 8. I was in the younger years, like first or second year of secondary school. And she was she had a white collar, so she was year 11. At my school at the time, everyone from year 7 to year 10 had blue and white checkered shirts, and only year 11s had white shirts, so you would know who year 11 was. And that was how they differentiated the years. Although now they apparently have different colours on their sweatshirts, just to show different years. But she was mad at one of the language teachers. I don't know what it was that happened. Next thing we all know, because we're queuing up to have our lunch, is we hear a crash. And she kicked, because the language teacher had locked the door, she kicked the glass panel on the door, and her leg got stuck on a piece of glass, and her leg's up in the air and it's stuck on this piece of glass, and she's screaming her head off. There's blood everywhere. We're all panicking. Like, what do we do? And then she's still screaming at the teacher saying, this is all your fault. And I'm thinking, the teacher did not pull your leg through the door. You kicked it. You did this to yourself. So that was another time when they had to cancel. They got us into the lunch hall really quickly, so we would be inside. They called the ambulance. She ended up losing a lot of blood, surgery on her leg. It was a whole big rigmarole, and she wasn't allowed to come back to the school. She was allowed to come and sit her exams, and that was it. But she wasn't actually allowed to do lessons, and she had to be supervised when she was on premises. They didn't trust her after that. So yeah, that was just a crazy thing. There's a surprisingly large number of crazy stuff that happened at my school. My school was quite small. There's only 800 girls. It was actually I think it's one of the it was the smallest school at the time. I think maybe only one other school was smaller, and that was another all girls school. But that was on the other side of the borough to us. But yeah, so it was a small school, but there was a lot of things that happened in the school. I'm sure there's probably loads of crazy things that happen in other schools, but there's lots. Most of the time, what would happen is there'll be the boys from the neighboring school who'd always try to break in and cause chaos for us. Because I remember one time we were in the classroom in the same the same block in the language block. We were there for French, and then like they had to end lunch early. It's always during our lunch break. Like I'd have to always mess with my food. So they ended they ended lunch early because some boys from the neighboring school had jumped over the fence and were running around the sports hall. And the sports hall is the sports field. Sports field is you can see it from the dining hall. So if you look out the window of the dining hall, you can see the sports field. And outside the dining halls were all the benches where we would sit for our breaks and lunch. So they're running around and we're all just like, what are we doing? They're pulling down their trousers and mooning at us, and just like, okay. So then they made us all go to lessons early. So we were in our classroom in French. We're looking out the window, and one of the girls is like, "Oh my gosh, I know him. I went primary school with him." So she goes to the window and she calls out one of the boys' names. So they're chatting. She's like screaming down, and he's screaming up, and they're laughing. And then one of the senior teachers saw it, so she come into our classroom, like bam, opened the door, and we're just like, we're year 8, so it's like we're no longer the timid year 7s like at first year. So we're year 8, we got a little bit cocky, we think we know stuff. We didn't. We knew nothing. We were Jon Snows. We knew nothing. So she she comes in and she goes, "I can't believe you girls." We're like, "What?" And she goes, "Sit down and stop acting like a bunch of trollops." Did she just call us trollops? And we're like, can a teacher do that? Is this allowed? And then when she screamed at the head of languages heard, and he comes running along and he's like, what's going on? And she's like, they're talking to the boys who broke into the school. And then he's like, okay, what else did they do? And she looked at him, she's like, they're talking to the boys. Like it was the biggest sin we'd ever committed. And we're just like, I really wanted to put my hand up and say the half the world population is boys, but I thought, no, this she's actually mad. I'm gonna shut up and behave for once. So I stayed quiet and I just like kind of hid in my little chair and I was like, and then the teacher, and he's like, okay. And he's like, girls, what lesson do you have? We're like, we've got French with Madame something. I can't remember what her last name was. Like with Madame. And he's like, okay, cool. He pulled the teacher out and then he's telling her off outside of the classroom. Doesn't want us to hear, and then we're all looking out the window and he sees that we're all looking because every classroom had like a window to see in and out of, so we're all just looking. He's like, so he called her away. They walked off down to the hallway. Then we thought, okay, that's nothing of it. We used to have our registration, so we'd have a registration first thing in the morning. That was 5 minutes, so you had 5 minutes to come in. They did register, make sure you're here for attendance, and you go straight to lessons. And then we'd have another registration at the end of the day. That way no one could skip. Like people, when registration used to be before lunch, people would literally just do the registration before lunch and then disappear for lunch in the last period. And they didn't want people to do that. So they had it at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, we went to our form room, we're sitting down, we're laughing about it. Then our head of year comes in and we were quiet down and she goes, did something happen today? And we're like, yeah, miss, the boys broke in and then they're pulling down their trousers and they're mooning us. And she's like, did anything else happen? And the girl in the class goes, yeah, I was talking to one of them because I know him. He's my neighbour and we're at primary school. And I was telling him to go because he ruined our lunch. And she goes, okay, did anything happen with a teacher? And we're all sitting there because we're like, do we snitch or do we not? And then she goes, did the teacher say something to you guys? And we're like, yeah, she did, miss, she did. And then she goes, what did she say? And we're like, can we say it? Are we allowed to say it, miss? And she's like, yes, you can say the word. She called us trollops. Miss, she called us trollops. Can you believe it? She called us trollops. And she's like, I thought so. I thought so. Okay, that's what we heard. Well, girls, I just want to let you know that we've had a discussion and she's very sorry for saying that word. She was just very mad because those boys put everyone in danger. We didn't know if they were here to do some harm to people and they were running around and they were very hard to catch. And she's coming up with all these excuses to basically like say, yeah, she didn't mean to call you that, but like she did anyway. And we're like, okay. And then one of the girls goes, Miss, is she going to apologize to us? And she looked at her and she goes, I've already apologized for her. Like, do not push your luck. Okay. Okay, we'll stay quiet. But it was just like the weirdest thing ever. I'd never been called a trollop ever in my entire life. Even since then, I've never been called that. And it's all because some dumb boys broke into the school and were running around like lunatics. And one of the girls happened to know them and was talking to them through the window. It's like crazy. Like it's weird how she just went from 0 to you guys are whores. I hope I don't get demonetized for some of the words. And I don't know if I'll be demonetized for follow. Maybe for the other word. I'll try not to say that one again. But yeah, my school days were crazy. But I've got so many stories. I seem to attract a bunch of weirdos. There are many times when I was chased home by people who wanted me to either get in cars or vans or go places with them. And it's weird that they picked me. It's like they knew I was like the weakest member of the herd because I can't run. Like, not to save my life anyway. But that shall be a tale for another day. I'm going to end this here. I hope you enjoyed my story of how my teachers decided to call me a trollop. And how another one decided to stab someone else in the dining hall with a fork. Sounds like a story from Cluedo. All right, so that's day 4 done. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I will see you tomorrow, inshallah.